We have been learning to think like economists till now, and we'll do that for much of the course too. But we haven't defined economics yet, right? So what exactly is economics? Is there a simple definition that we can use? And what do economists actually do? What do they study? These are questions we have to answer. Now, there is one thing I want you to understand here. We are defining economics here only to get a fix on what the meaning could be. We will look back again on what economic means towards the end of our course when we summarize our learnings. At that point, we will be able to define economics much more meaningfully. Let us look at some of the famous definitions of economics now. Alfred Marshall in 1890 gave this definition. Political economy or economics is a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It examines that part of individual and social action which is most closely connected with the attainment and with the use of material requisites of well-being. Thus, it is on one side a study of wealth and on the other and more important side a part of the study of man. Later, Paul A. Samuelson in 1948 modified this earlier definition and gave another. Economics is the study of how societies use scarce resources to produce valuable commodities and distribute them among different people. A modern economist, Joseph E. Stiglitz, in 2006 had this new definition. Economics studies how individuals, firms, governments, and other organizations within a society make choices, and how these choices determine society's use of its resources. All of these definitions capture various important aspects of economics, and as we study the subject in detail, we will see that all of them are valid to some extent. But we can go for a working definition of economics to start off with. Economics is the science of studying how choices are made. And this definition is a modification of a famous definition given by the economist Lionel Robbins in a book called An Essay on the Nature and Significance of Economic Science. And what do economists do? Just like physicists study physics and particles and try to explain physical phenomena of various sorts, or chemists study molecules and their reactions, economists study economic agents or actors, their reactions and the effects. Economists study choices, decisions, effects, and causes, and try to explain various economic phenomena. Economics is in many ways just like engineering. It will tell you how things work and what is likely to happen if you change something. Economics can be quite objective in how it sees the world. Such economics is called positive economics. Now here, positive doesn't mean positive in the normal sense. It derives from the word posit, and the word posit comes from a Latin word which means to put or place, which gives a sense of certainty. So we say things like positive theory, etc., which is very close to postulating a theorem or a statement. So here, economics that posits or postulates is positive economics or objective economics, and it's a tool used for objective analysis of the world. However, the fact that economics itself is a tool for objective analysis doesn't mean that economists are always objective. Economists study areas like power, poverty, growth, and development. It's hard to wield models that underlie such important subjects and remain unmoved by the real world behind them. That is why economists often step beyond their role as engineers of economic policy and become advocates of policy they believe can make the world a better place. Because some economists are not content with explaining how the world works. They also want to improve it. Billions of people could benefit from better economic policies. Millions are dying because of bad ones. Sometimes the logic of economics is so compelling that it's impossible for economists not to take a stand. And when we do take a stand like this, it is called normative economics. So you see, the opposite of positive economics is not negative economics, it's normative economics, derived from norm, which means a standard or something to conform to, which essentially means a value judgment is there about whether something is good or bad. In normative economics, economists go beyond just explaining the world and try to improve the world based on some norms or values. When the economists are trying to explain the world, they are scientists. when they're trying to help improve it, they're policy advisors. To help clarify the two roles that economists play, let's examine the use of language. Because scientists and policy advisors have different goals, they use language in different ways. For example, suppose that two people are discussing RBI interest rates in India. Here are two statements you might hear. Rahul says, lowering the interest rates will cause inflation. Shweta says, the RBI should lower the interest rate because it's better for the country. Notice that Rahul and Shweta differ in what they are trying to do. Rahul is speaking like a scientist. He is making a claim about how the world works. Shweta is speaking like a policy advisor. She is making a claim about how she would like to change the world. In general, statements about the world come in two types. One type, such as Rahul's, is positive. Positive statements are descriptive in nature. They make a claim about how the world is. That is, they try to describe the world. Such descriptions are objective statements about the world. Such factual statements can be confirmed or tested with data. For instance, it's a fact that in 2012, India's top 10% owned 63% of the country's wealth and the bottom 50% owned only 5.3%. Such descriptions of what has happened or predicting what will happen is part of positive economics or positive economic analysis. For instance, consider the prediction that by 2050, renewable energy will account for close to 90% of all India's energy needs, compared to a bit more than 15% today. This forecast can be compared to future data and either confirmed or disproven. Because a prediction is ultimately testable, it's part of positive economics. Positive economics is quite close to being a science, with testable hypotheses, data collection, proofs, etc. Second type of statement, such as Shweta's, is normative. Normative statements are prescriptive in nature. They make a claim about how the world ought to be. Normative economics advises individuals and societies on their choices and problems and prescribes certain actions or solutions. Just like how Shweta is saying the interest rates should be reduced, whereas Rahul was not giving any prescription like that. Normative economics is about what people and societies ought to do. A key difference between positive and normative statements is how we judge their validity. As we saw, we can, in principle, confirm or refute positive statements by examining evidence. An economist might evaluate Rahul's statement by analyzing data on changes in interest rate and changes in inflation over time. By contrast, evaluating normative statements involves values as well as facts. So on the other hand, Shweta's statement cannot be judged using data alone. Deciding what is good or bad policy is not just a matter of science. It also involves our views on ethics, religion, political philosophy, etc. As you study economics, you should keep in mind this distinction between positive and normative statements, especially when you deal with real-world economics. Much of economics is positive. It just tries to explain how the economy works. Yet, those who use economics often have normative goals. They want to learn how to improve the economy. When you hear economists make normative statements, you should be able to identify it and know that they're speaking not as scientists but as policy advisors, and that they're speaking with some agenda. And then we should be able to identify the agenda and evaluate if the prescriptions are valid or not, which in turn means you should have opinions about issues and policies. And I must warn you, I also have opinions. And of course, you should have too. Occasionally, you might notice my own opinions and some of my biases here and there in the various chapters in this course, which is fine. But don't just accept them. Instead, it will be more fun if you challenge me. Disagree with me. Discuss with your friends and teachers. Even get into fights with your friends over what you learn. Economics matters and it's worth arguing about. So along with studying economics with me here, I would like you to also start reading the newspaper more often, so that you are exposed to the economic news and policies of our country as well as the world. This will help you develop informed opinions and also give you plenty of examples and case studies to apply things we will discuss in this course.